Piece number 49. This is take two. All right, context for this. This is an early Christian church. It was built after 313 Constantine. In 313, Constantine legalized the Catholic Christian Church in the Roman Empire. And so from 313 until 476, anything created by the Christians is considered early Christian. It's considered Middle Ages from 476 going up to about 1500. So this is an early Christian church, and it is the not the very first, but it is the longest standing. More context. I think we're good. Yes. It sits up on a hill in the city of Rome, and it is a spot where there would have been temples, pagan temples prior to this. It has a beautiful view of Rome that when you go visit it, you're going to love. The doors going into Santa Sabina are interesting because they are wooden doors that have survived for 1600 years. And that's rare for wood, right? Wood is a pretty porous organic material that normally breaks down easily. Yet these have survived miraculously. And it is this corner piece up here on the door that is given a lot of attention by art historians. Because in this corner piece, which is blown up here, you see for the first time in art history, the crucifixion of Jesus. Here on either side of him are the two thieves that were crucified with him. There's no real cross depicted here, but you get the gist that they are being crucified, which was a common punishment in the Roman Empire. Okay, form for Santa Sabina. The form of Santa Sabina is a basilica. It is designed by what the Christians saw in their own world in Rome. And hopefully you can recognize this. This was at the Forum of Trajan. It was the Basilica Ulpia, and it shows us, right, what a basilica is. And you can look right over here at the Santa Sabina and you go, oh, wow, it's the exact same thing. So the basilica for the Roman Empire, though, right, was that it was a kind of a political, social setting where people gathered to talk. And over here, the basilica has now been turned into a church where the Christians are meeting for prayer services. So a little bit of a change here. Not a little bit, it's a big change. Okay, another form here that you guys see, maybe you know the term for this, when a roof is elevated above the rest of the building, and on the sides between the building and the roof, there are windows put in or places for light to enter. It's called a clerestory. And this was the temple of Amun-Re in Egypt. That's where we first came across that term. But there is a clerestory here in Santa Sabina. So this is where light would have been able to be shown against these spots right here above the columns. There would have been mosaics that have since deteriorated or been covered over. The light, though, would have illuminated them quite nicely. The windows deserve a moment here of attention. The windows in Santa Sabina are made of gypsum. They're not made of glass. This is original, right? So gypsum is like a mineral, like a rock that can be broken apart into layers thin enough to serve as what seems to be glass. Okay, and then here we have these Corinthian columns. Hopefully you recognize this leafy pattern. Kind of started in Egypt. The Romans used it as their capital. These are fluted, right? Maybe that reminds you of the Ionic order. And what's interesting about these, but nothing that you haven't heard before, is that these columns were taken from pagan temples. So when we reuse something, it's called spoilia. And we remember we saw that happen in Tenochtitlan when the Aztec Templo Mayor was disassembled by the Spaniards and used to build all of their buildings, including Catholic churches. I also want to call your attention to, I hadn't done this before, but this is a loaf of bread, and this is a chalice. I know it's not a great picture, but I just don't want to forget to tell you that on top of every one of these columns here, there is this mosaic where they are honoring this notion of the Eucharist. So much more overt Christian symbols going on here in this church. And then finally, the design here of Santa Sabina is something that we need to focus on in class. We're going to draw this out like we did the Greek temple orders. And this design has been used for 1,500 years. We have churches here in Spokane that are definitely designed on this plan. And so it's good for us to get to know some vocabulary from that. Okay, Santa Sabina, it is going to be our first and not our last church, but it will be setting the stage, like the basilicas before it, for every church we look at.